Okay. Let's go.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another show, man. It's Thursday, so that means we have our guy here, UCapper, aka Ronald Cabang, man. I'm your host, Jay Money. We're talking out some NBA plays, talking out some NBA picks, might even talk some college picks, man. NFL towards the end of the show as well. We got 6 games. We're gonna break them down from every single angle that we're looking at. Then we're gonna try to get to some cash. What's up with you, Ronald? Everything cool with you, my brother?
Yeah, man. I think since the calendar started the calendar year, been doing really well. Started to add some soccer into my. I told you before, man. I do a lot of sports. I don't typically do my officials on other sports though, mainly
Mm-hmm.
focusing on basketball. But started to add soccer into the mix, and things have been going well. But yesterday, man, I was on I think it was like a 13-4 run or some shit like that in college basketball. And then
Damn.
I got hit. I hit a wall yesterday. I went 0-4.
Mm.
So hopefully we bounce back. But overall, man, college has been doing really well for me. NBA, I was on a good run there, and then went 1-2 yesterday. So just looking for a bounce back day today.
Yeah, no, facts right there. Yeah, I got a couple college games I'm looking at as well, man. Maybe we'll talk about it towards the end. Obviously, it's an NBA show. We got 6 games today, so let's break them down in full detail. First game up, let's head over here to the streets of Charlotte here. We have the Hornets getting 6 points at the house versus the Chicago Bulls. Line was at 5 last night. It's come up to 6 here. Obviously, huge question mark. LaMelo Ball in this game. Obviously, he hadn't been playing. Obviously, the Hornets are tanking as well. I mean, who knows? They might shut down LaMelo Ball for the rest of the season. No real reason other than to play for your fans, which I
Mhm.
mean, these guys don't care about anymore. But other than that, there's no real reason to play LaMelo Ball here. But he is still questionable in this one, Ronald. How you looking at this game, my guy? Bulls coming off that loss where they gave up a 21-point lead to the Pacers.
Yeah, I think the only way that I was looking at it was really towards the under or the Hornets team total under, primarily if LaMelo Ball sits out, because we know that their offense has been struggling in the last couple of games without him. Some of the things that I looked at to support that under, Bulls, they tend to struggle on the road, but more specifically when they're on the road coming off a road loss. So multiple road games in a row. 2-4 straight up, 2-4 ATS. But the primary thing that I was looking at, like I said, was the under 6-0 to the under in that spot. They're averaging 106.7, allowing 108.7, and we see the total at 227.5. That's a big gap between it. And in this spot, when they've only been favored once in that road spot, they lost outright to the Wizards 97-100 in that game. So only way that I could look is towards the under. Like I mentioned, man, without LaMelo Ball, their offensive efficiency struggles. And then if you look at the last 10 games, the Bulls defense is actually fourth in the league in defensive rating, while the Hornets are 21st in that same time frame. So for me, I can only look towards the under or the Hornets team total under.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That one game versus the Wizards, they didn't have. I think it is a key note. They didn't have DeRozan in that game. That 197 loss versus the Wizards. But
That's a good
just how
point.
I'm looking at this game, no Lamelo or no Lamelo. I'd look for the Bulls to bounce back here now. So this is what the spot says. No matter what teams the players are, none of that. The spot says that you probably want to fade the Hornets here in the first quarter. First game home off of a 4-game road trip as well, man. They had three. It was 3 games, and they had a third game in 4 nights, all on the road. This is going to be their 4th game in 6 nights as well, with 3 of those games being in travel. So they're coming from the West Coast with only 1 day of rest as well. I know that those last couple games they did get absolutely blown out, but in
Mhm.
theory, it would be Bulls supposed to bounce back here first quarter and full game. I'd lean their way. The Hornets don't play enough defense for me, in my opinion. Me and Ronald just talking right before the show how when teams after the All-Star break are really going to start gearing up, I feel like the Bulls are in that window already, especially with
Mhm.
them being lackluster so far through the season. Still 3 games under 500. I don't see the Bulls taking this game lightly, and this is one of those games where even pre-All-Star break, we have 2 teams that are basically going in the opposite directions here. I can only look towards the Bulls first quarter and full game. could be a trifecta spot for the Bulls. But I know that the under has been hidden, Ronald. But with the way that the Hornets don't play defense and they like to run and gun, I'd be looking at Bulls team total overs in this one. It's not one that I'd play over the regular total, but I feel like
Mhm.
whichever team you like here, go ahead and play their team total overs. That's something that you got me on, Ronald. That way you don't even care about the spread. But if
Yeah.
I'm looking at spreads, I'm heavily leaning Bulls in the first quarter and full game. And if I'm looking at team total overs, I lean Bulls full game team total over here. Ronald, what you think about that?
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. To me, like I think you touched on it a little bit. Is if they get up early, like the first quarter, first half, there might be a situation where they kind of let go a little bit in the second half, right? Or they just tend to not focus to close out the game. In that situation, maybe it would be more so the over in the first half than the full game, just in case they get a big lead, you know. Maybe they just slow it down in the second half and just try to coast through.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good question in the chat. Lee Lewis says, Jay, don't we back team coming off a blowout loss? That is correct, but it's a little bit different when it's one of the worst teams. So it's crazy, guys, because we have the 4 worst teams in the NBA in action today, and the
Mhm.
Hornets are definitely one of those teams. So I would say maybe a little exception to the rule, Lee, is when you're one of the worst teams in the NBA, you don't really there's no real auto bounce back, right? The
Yeah.
Hornets, they're kind of used to getting blown out. Only 3-7 straight up last 10 and 4-6 against the spread. This Hornets team is not a bet on team, in my opinion. You might find spots to bet them, maybe getting double digits, but this isn't a spot for me. I can only look towards the Bulls here in the bounce back spot. Even though on the road, I think they're just that much better offensively and defensively balanced than the Hornets in this one, guys. So way I'll
Can I
be
add
looking.
something to that,
Go ahead.
Jake? Because like he said, like typically off of a blowout loss, you wanna back them, but on the other side, the Bulls are coming off a loss as outright favorites, right?
Mm-hmm.
So technically could be a bounce back for them as well, right? Because they in these types of situations, you want to go in opposite directions, right? So if they're coming off of a blowout loss, you want the other team to be in a blowout win, and then go the other way around, right? Because then we'll have some value on the line. The books would give us some value on the line.
Facts right there, man. Yeah, I'm only looking towards the Bulls and Nelwyn, guys. Heavily lean to Bulls in the first quarter. Lean them full game as well. Was at 5 last night, up to 6 today. Maybe if LaMelo Ball is ruled in, maybe it'll go down, but obviously he's ruled out. It'll probably go up to 7, 7.5. I'm only looking Bulls there and Bulls team total over. I feel like if you take the full game team total over, you don't even care about them covering the spread. You just need the Hornets to do what they do, and that's to run and gun and not play any defense. And that's exactly what I think will happen here, guys. Let's head over here to the streets of Boston here, Ronald. We have the Celtics laying 8.5 points versus the New York Knicks. Celtics coming off a little road trip. They're coming off 2 straight losses as well here, Ronald. Do you think they'll bounce back here we have a total of sitting at 221, my guy?
Yeah, this one's tough because I think the line is in a spot where they can win but not cover. Knicks coming off of that win over the Cavs at home, that broke that 4-game losing streak for them. Celtics, their 2-game losing streak failed to cover in 4 games in a row. I think one other thing too is the first of a 4-game homestand following 3 straight road games. So that's one thing that you talked about in the last game is coming off of those long road streaks. But one way that I was looking at it really was actually towards the Knicks to cover. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but hopefully they cover, and also towards the over as well. Celtics 6-2 straight up, but only 2-6 against the spread in home games following a road game. So when there's travel involved, there 6-2 to the over in that spot. They're averaging 120 per game, allowing 116.4 per game, and so that's above the total tonight. And if we say that the total is actually less than 230 in that spot, 6-0 to the over there, close to 240 points per game in that spot. So I could only look towards the over for the most part. And then if you look on the Knicks side, 8-3 straight up, 9-2 against the spread, 6-4-1 to the over in road games following a home game. So when they travel from home to road, they're actually playing pretty well. They average 119.1 per game, allowing 114 per game. They've gone over their team total in 9 straight of those situations. So that's why I was kind of looking towards the Knicks, is because of how well they do offensively in that spot. And one thing that I noticed on the Celtics side at home, they play aggressive defense, but to the point where they're actually getting fouls called at home. So I looked at a little bit more between home and road on fouls called. They get called for fouls. They have 3 more fouls per game called on them at home than on the road. So the opposing teams, they actually go to the free throw line a little bit more, and that's why they're giving up more points at home than on the road. So this might be a situation where the Knicks, who like to attack the paint, right? They're good at points in the paint. They might get to the free throw line a lot as well. So I can only look towards the Knicks to actually cover this large spread here, and also to the over.
Yeah, it's a good point. You make some good points here, man. Knicks do have the Nets on deck. Now they had just lost 4 straight games before they beat the Cavs in that one. In my opinion, I do think the Cavs kind of sort of gave that one away more than the Knicks did win it. So I'm still kind of off the Knicks, man. Even while they're still without Mitchell Robinson, their defense has still been pretty bad as well. I know they locked up the Cavs in the last game, but that was at the house. We know the Knicks play a lot better at the house. On the road, it's kind of crazy, man, because the Knicks are so Jekyll and Hyde. They'll go on a streak where they're road warriors. Then they'll go on a streak where they're covering games at the house. What the Knicks usually do is they'll come out first quarter, first half blazing, and then for whatever reason, it could be something to do with coaching. In the second half, that's when they usually lose the lead. I could actually see scenarios where the Knicks came out here hot. If I like the Knicks here, I maybe like them. Maybe you want to fade the Celtics in their first game, like early here. They have played 6 out of their last 7 games on the road as well. So coming back home here off their little mini 3-game road trip, maybe you'd like to take Knicks, try to catch the Celtics sleeping early. But just the way I look at it, they got Brogdon back. They got Jaylen Brown back as well. I really see over the full course of minutes, I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics really lock down this Knicks team. Their offense really can go into can really go through dry periods as well, man. So I wouldn't be surprised if Celtics locked up on them here. The spread is a little bit too high for me, but I must say, man, I'm only looking towards Celtics to bounce back here. I think they're in a totally different tier than the Knicks. That's just the way I'm looking at it. I didn't bet it, but Celtics minus 8.5. That's the only way I look. And if I'm betting this game, I probably have to look at some Celtics team total overs here as well, man. Like I say, Knicks without Mitchell Robinson, this isn't the Cavs you're going up against. The Celtics are going to play fast. They're going to run and gun, and I believe they have some matchup advantages as well. Robert Williams likely come back in this game as well. You got Horford, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. Not sure who's going to stop them here on the side for the Knicks as well. So it's a tough game for me. Great game for me to watch. This is the type of game that I don't bet. I would lean Celtics full game minus 8.5, and I would lean their team total as well. Ronald, anything else on this one before we get to the next one?
No, that's it.
Yeah, so Celtics team total sitting at 114.5. This actually come down. Last night, this total was sitting at 227, and then it's come down to 221. So maybe the odds makers are thinking it's going to be a defensive game. Me personally, I'd still lean towards the Celtics full game on the spread, and I'd lean their team total over 114.5, 115, like that one a little bit more than the spread, guys. Set up here to the streets of Brooklyn here, man. I had to change the line, Ronald. This line was down to 7. I don't honestly, I'm still trying to see what the hell's going on. It was down to 7.5 overnight. It was 9 last night. Now it's coming back up to 9. Now going back down to 8.5 here. So as soon as it's touching 9, they're hitting it back down to 8.5. Ronald, I love watching the odds screen and seeing it's just kind of fun to me. But I know I'm only looking towards Pistons here. I don't like the spot for the Nets. You got to like even more that they had to come all the way back just to make that game close last night versus 76ers, right? So at least they're not on a long losing streak where it's like, okay, a must blow out spot. I think they just want to win this game and get out of here. I think laying 9 here, you're expecting them to blow out. I want to take Pistons here plus the 8.5 here, Ronald. How you looking at this one?
Yeah, I mean, I can only look that way too. To me, the Nets they're already shorthanded, right? And then they're on the second leg of back-to-back games. This is a spot where I looked at it last night. I was like, man, somebody about to sit, but they're already so shorthanded. Like, what are they gonna do? Like punt this game against a team that they should be able to win against? I don't know. That's the reason why I stayed off yesterday. But we talked about this on my show yesterday on Let's Cap yesterday. When a losing team, right, faces a team with a winning record, just blindly, they're covering at a 56% rate this season. So this is one of those situations where you're like, damn, man, like the Nets should be able to win and cover this one pretty easily. But at the same time, I don't know where their motivation is, right? Because their second leg of back-to-back games, they're shorthanded. Coming off a game, like you said, Kyrie played heavy minutes yesterday and trying to come back against the Sixers. Mm-hmm. I don't want to step in front of the Nets just because it seems like without KD, they finally figured out how to run this offense. So that's the only reason why I don't want to get in front of it. But for the most part, everything to me is really just pointing towards the Pistons here.
No, facts right there. Yeah, I'll tell you why, man. I'll tell you why this is a horrible spot for the Nets, man. So they're off of 5 straight road games, right? First game back at the house, but I do think that they went home before yesterday's game because they had 2 days off. You go on a 4-game West Coast road trip, as well, man. So you played 3 games in 4 nights, and fourth game in 4 games in 6 nights, all on the West Coast. Then you come home. I guarantee they went home for a brief stop. Then they fly to Philly, right? But a really good game. They are 3-0 against the spread. The last 3. But I feel like there was such like a playoff game last night. You got Claxton going in it with Embiid. You got Kyrie. He went off for 30 points in that one, played 38 minutes. Seth Curry as well, which he hadn't really been playing those back-to-backs. He had a big game. He was the highest point scorer with 32 points. He took 20 shots as well, played 35 minutes. I see Seth Curry pop up here as questionable as well. I think they said Royce O'Neal is going to play. Obviously need to see if Kyrie's going to play here, but even if everybody plays, man, it's really one of those matchup event. It's really one of those where I feel like the Pistons was coming here kind of scrappy. Now, obviously, this is a tanking team. They don't have a ton to play for, but I know Dwayne Casey, he's a defensive type of coach, and they just gave up 150 to the Bucks. I guarantee you he's going to be preaching to these guys. Guys, even though it was our first game back off the Paris trip, we can't be coming out there giving up 150. They did score 130, man. So I want to lean Pistons here. Now the line disappeared. It's going down to 8.5. I gotta look towards the Pistons here, guys. That's the only way I could take it. It's mainly a fade spot for the Nets. They should get the win. I believe their next game is versus the Knicks as well, so you could get a possible look ahead. The Nets will probably win this game, guys, but will they win it in blowout? I'm not so sure. Is it possible? They could, but I could definitely see a little look ahead to the Knicks. Definitely see a little fatigue setting in for the Nets here. First home game after 5 straight road games. I think the Pistons could be feisty here. I guess that's the main thing that I'm saying here, Ronald. Pistons plus the 8.5. That's the only way I could see it. And you get the element that the Knicks could really be playing down to their competition as well. This is not a big game, man. So Pistons plus the 8.5. That's the only way I could look in there with Ronald. Any other thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, just when you were talking, I was kind of listening to your breakdown, and I looked at the Pistons after they gave up 130 points or more. They're actually 7-3 straight up, 7-3 against the spread in that spot. So they do come back, bounce back, and primarily it's actually on the offensive side of the ball. They're averaging 122.2 per game and allowing 117.7. So if I look at the teams that they beat, they actually beat the Nuggets. They beat the Warriors twice. The Mavericks. I mean, there's some teams here that they beat outright in this spot here. So I can only look towards the Pistons in this one. You're making me. I didn't have a bet on this game, but
yeah,
hey, I might get there, dude. Like I looking at just the team total specifically too, 9-2 to the over on the Pistons team total in that spot too. So yeah, man. More that I talk about it, the more I want to bet the Pistons here.
Yeah, it could be a team total spot, right? But maybe you could even live bet because I do think the Nets they might try. I'm only looking Pistons here, guys. I'm sorry. They're off 4 straight losses as well, coming off a game they gave up 150 points. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pistons kept this game between 4. This is what I said last night on last night's show. I believe they can keep it between 4 to 6 points. They'll lose the game, but keep it close. That's what the Pistons do because even if they have a lead, they will tank the game away in the fourth quarter. But 8.5 is too many here for this particular situation, in my opinion. Pistons. That's the only way I can look at this one, man. Let's go over here to the streets of Houston here, man. We got one to talk about one of the other 4 bottom teams of the league, man. You got the Rockets here getting 8.5 points. Line was at 7.5 last night. I agree with the direction here, man. I agree with this line move coming on the Cavs. I believe they're in a whole nother conversation than the Rockets. They actually play defense. They have offense as well. Donovan Mitchell won't be playing this game, so he's still listed as questionable, guys. He injured his groin again last game, so he won't be playing in this one. But I can only look Cavs. I think the Cavs should catch a trifecta here, but problem is, Ronald, sometimes Rockets come out with some type of fight in first quarter, first half, but Cavs full game would be my lean here. And Cavs full game team total over as well, man. I don't see the Rockets playing nowhere near enough defense to stay in this one. Ronald, how you looking at this game, my guy?
Yeah, I think the one thing that you mentioned was the Rockets first quarter, first half. And primarily that has been a good bet, like at home for the Rockets. I know Wamby on that a lot. He kind of put me on that one. But for the most part, I mean, this is another situation where, I talked about earlier, the teams with a winning record facing a team with a losing record. If we actually dive deeper into that, if the team with the winning record is on the road and the opposing team is on the second leg of back-to-back games, somehow this season they're 4-17-2 against the spread. So that says to fade the Cavs. But for me, This is tough because I think it depends on who they're playing, right? It's not like the Rockets have been in that specific situation all together, and this is where like it gets funky with the trends and things like that because it's not only trends that you have to back, you have to. It's like the eye test. You got to also see what's going on, and for me, like even if the Rockets come out good with the first quarter, first half, I mean, like you said, I think the Cavs take over the full game. I don't think the Rockets, from a full game perspective, can get it done. So I'm not going to be betting this game, but it might be the situation where it is a live bet type of situation. Rockets first half, and then take the Cavs in the second half. That would probably be the only way that I go in this one. But for
The
me,
Rockets.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say they hate playing second halves, man. The team
Yeah,
falls apart. I don't know what. Obviously, they don't want to win games. We got to start there. They don't want to win. They could be up 10 points. I've seen them go up 10 points and then give up a 21-0 run, man. I've seen it, guys. This is and then a back-to-back. Yeah, so didn't they play the Wizards? Yeah, they played the Wizards yesterday, guys. So
yeah,
this is the second half of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights. They didn't have to travel anywhere, so it's not the same, but still third game in 4 nights and fourth game in 6 nights for the Rockets here. They had a lead last night versus the Wizards. That was the game they gave up a 21-0 run. They let Kuzma go off for 20 points in the fourth quarter. He nailed 5 threes on them. Just no fight at all from the Rockets, man. So if you like the Rockets here, maybe take their team total over. Maybe take first quarter, first half. But I feel like in the full game, the Cavs will lock down on. Like, this is how I'm looking at it, Ronald. Even if, because teams don't always respect the Rockets, and for good
yeah,
reason, but this is what they can do. They'll come out there lackluster the first half and then just choose to lock down on them in the third or fourth quarter, and it
yeah.
works versus the Rockets. You lock down on them, their offense turns to shit, and then the defense is non-existent here. I'm sorry, man. I think Cavs team total 115 is good money here, guys. The Rockets don't play enough defense for me. The Cavs will bust out here offensively. I know they have a game tomorrow as well versus OKC, but I mean, they're probably not looking ahead to the Thunder. I think the Cavs get it done. It's getting up there with the 8.5 on the road, but I still lean Cavs full game, minus 8.5, and the team total over 115 would be my top play in this game, guys. I think there's good money in that one. Let's head over here to the streets of Phoenix here, Ronald. We got the Suns laying a point and a half versus the Mavs. Super easy with me. I'm only looking towards the Suns in this one, Ronald. How you looking at this one?
Yeah, pretty much the same way. The Mavs lost and failed to cover in 5 of the last 6 games. First of a 2-game road trip, following 4 straight home games. On the other side, they got 4 straight wins and covers, so they're finally getting it getting it right without Booker. For the most part, I mean, the Mavs defense has been one of the worst in the league. If you look at the last 10 games, they're 29th in the league in defensive rating. Some of the trends that I was looking at in this spot here, Mavs 1-9 straight up, 3-7 ATS. 7-3 to the over in road dog situations. Their opponents have gone over their team total in 8 of those 10 games. They're allowing an average of 122.4 points per game. Another thing to fade the Mavs here, 2-7 straight up and against the spread. Also, another thing to the over, 7-2 to the over in road games following a home game. So where that travel spot is, if they're coming off a home loss specifically, I think they're struggling even more so in that spot. On the Sun side, like we said, 4 straight wins and covers. They're finally putting things together without Booker. They're getting it done a lot more so on the defensive side of the ball. But for this situation here, I don't know if they can kind of stop this Mavericks offense. But I know the Mavericks defense is going to give it up a lot. So I can only look towards the Suns as well, and maybe a look towards the over too.
Man, I don't want any parts to do with this game. The Suns been playing a lot better. As soon as I try to bet against the Mavs, I'm telling you what they're gonna do, man. As soon as I try to bet against them, they're gonna look like all-stars out there, man. I can't stand that fucking team, man. Screw that team. 1-5 against the spread and straight up last 6 games, 2-7 straight up and against spread last 9. They've been playing horrible. They do go out on the road. Maybe that's what they need to go on the road. They had 4 straight home games, only won one of those, man, versus the Heat. And that was the game that had me thinking they might turn shit around, man. They do have the Jazz on deck. Obviously, they always hate the Suns, guys. So that's why I'm not betting this game, because the Suns have been playing a lot better. fifth straight home game. They're 4-0 straight up and against the spread so far. So the Suns are starting to figure things out without Booker. They got
Yeah.
Chris Paul back. They always play really good defense. These two teams hate each other. I wouldn't be surprised to be like a playoff game. If I'm betting it, I'm only looking towards Suns -1.5. Would I be surprised if the Mavs got the win? No, I would. But if I'm betting it, it's Suns or nothing for me here. They're starting to get hot. The Mavs are going in a different direction. Luka's getting all frustrated and shit. Almost look like he them they're finna ask for a trade or something. So screw that Mavs team. I hope they lose by 30 points, guys. I wouldn't be surprised if an under did come through in that game. But lean Suns, lean under, not betting the game, Ronald. Last game up, man. Then we could talk about some college. Let's go over here to the streets of LA here. We got the Clippers laying 12.5 at the house versus the Spurs. It was a little bit different when the Spurs were winning that game, but they went ahead and tanked it and lost by double digits. I'm only looking towards the Spurs here. I don't want to lay 30. What are we doing here? 12.5 points with the Clippers. In theory, the line would tell you to take the Clippers, but no, I'm not laying double digits with the Clippers, man. I'm not.
Yeah.
This line could be 7, and I still wouldn't lay it with the Clippers here, Ronald. How we look? I lean Spurs here, and I lean. If you'd like the Clippers, take them team total overs with the Spurs bad defense. It's simple. You don't even care about them covering the spread. How you looking at this one, Rundun?
Yeah, I'm with you here. I'm only gonna look towards the Spurs. That they are coming off of that loss yesterday to the Lakers. This is the second leg of back-to-back games, but they stayed in LA, so there's no travel there, right?
No
On the
trouble.
other side, the Clippers they've looked pretty good. They're on a 3-game winning streak. This is technically a 1-game homestand between road trips, but they were in LA. They just they also just played the Lakers. Upcoming road trip though, 5 games on the Eastern Conference. So this is something that they're going to be possibly looking ahead to in this spot. Clippers have won all 3 matchups so far, but I believe the Spurs did cover the last one that was recently at home. Some of the trends that I was looking at, right? Clippers, if you just look at the Clippers at home, 19-4-1 to the under at home, the best under team in the league. But if you look at it from an ATS perspective, 2-7 straight up, 1-8 ATS, 9-0 to the under in home games following a road game, technically a road game, but they were in LA, like I said. Clippers, after facing the Lakers, so this is why I was brought that, them being in LA. So after they play the Lakers in the same arena, they're actually 0-2 ATS and 2-0 to the under. They actually struggle offensively for some reason after they face the Lakers. On the Spurs side, they're 6-3 ATS as double-digit dogs, covering in 4 straight of those situations. So they're doing well in that spot. Like I said, that 5-game Eastern Conference road trip on deck, I think that's something that this Clippers team might be looking ahead to. They're just going to overlook the Spurs here, and the Spurs kind of take advantage of that. I think they cover this large number here. Spurs would be the way that I go.
Yeah, I'm only looking towards Spurs as well. I'm trying to see. They're 4-0 against the spread, man. It's 12.5-point dog or more, guys. So, I mean, I'm just giving you the stats, man. 4-0 against the spread is 12.5 or higher. The Clippers have not laid a number so far this season. This will be the highest number that the Clippers have laid. I must say the number kind of says take the Clippers, but I don't trust it. This is one where I trust my eyes, and I don't trust the Clippers offense enough to cover the spread, man. Now, like I say, if you like the Clippers here, guys, just bet their team total over. It's simple. Because if they're going to blow them out, they're going to probably get to 120 points, right? Let me just check to see. Yeah, so, okay, so their team total is 123. But I still feel like if you like the Clippers, I just wouldn't lay 12.5, 13 with them, man. Last game before a 5-game East Coast road trip, they play top teams as well every single game. You see that coming in the chat, Ronald, where they talking about get you some coffee.
I got some right here. I just don't want to. I don't want to have it in my mouth because when I talk, that shit's gonna fly out.
That shit funny, man. But it sounds crazy, but I actually do lean the Spurs here. I kind of like even more the fact that they were up in that game and then pissed it away last night. Obviously, got to see if somebody's going to rest, like a Pirtle, a Keldon Johnson. I mean, they're pretty close to trading Pirtle as well. So wouldn't be surprised if they did sit them. But let's just put it this way. If everyone plays for the Spurs that played last night, I could only look towards Spurs plus the double digits, 4-0 against the spread at this number. This is the biggest number that the Clippers have laid so far this season. We don't trust their offense or defense enough to lay this amount of points. And you get that possible look ahead spot, guys. guys. I'm telling you what happened with the Kings last night. The Kings have a 7-game road trip coming up. So when you're on a home stand, this is something I'm starting to look at, man. It's really been cashing a lot this year. When you're on a little mini homestand, but it's the last game of this homestand before a 4 or 5 or more game road trip, it's a look ahead spot. You're packing up those bags as soon as it's right after this game, especially when it's a bad team as well. You just simply overlook them here. So Spurs plus the 12.5, the only way I could look. If I do like the Clippers here, I'd bet their team total over 123.5 for full game, or even the first half team total over. That's how I would do it to get away from this spread and knowing, guys. Yeah, it's 13.5. Yeah. It's 13 now. You gotta. The Spurs might rest somebody, but I tell you this: I'm not laying it with the Clippers. I can't talk you off doing it, but me personally, my money's going nowhere near Clippers minus 13 until I see them put together like a 10-game winning streak or some shit. But or I see them put up like 130, 140 points, man. But let's get out of here, Ronald. Let's talk about some picks, man. I know you got college basketball going, everything going over there at Sports Memo, man. Let the people know. And if you like, you can give out any college basketball plays. I'll let you know what I'm looking at. But first off, tell the people what you got going over at Sports Memo and all the sports that you do.
Yeah, I do have one college basketball play. I'll give that out today. It is UC Davis minus 6.5. I think their offense is really good compared to their opponent today. I think it's one of those situations where even if they tried to win, their offense is just not good enough to keep up with UC Davis. So I was only looking towards UC Davis minus 6.5. It might be tight. I have them winning by eight points here tonight, but for the most part, there's a situation where I just feel like even if my numbers say 8, I think this is a spot where they win by double digits here for the most part. And as far as the NBA, I don't have anything posted up on the site yet, but Spurs might be actually my top look. It's ugly. It's ugly. I'll tell you that. It's ugly, but them ugly hits, the best hit sometimes, you know? So I would only look towards the Spurs here. That might actually be one of my only premium plays today, unless anyone talks me into something else. But for the most part, Spurs is the way that I go.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you out, man. 3 college plays that I was looking at with significance, man. Portland, man, plus the 6. They catching LMU, Loyola Marymount, coming off a huge win, guys. A huge one. I wish they were at the house. They would have stormed the court, all that. But I guarantee when they came back home, everyone's all over their jocks. You see what I'm saying? I guarantee you that. But 16.5 underdog win over the Gonzaga, yeah, letdown spot coming for LMU, and it's a revenge spot coming from Portland as well. They lost earlier this year by 20 to LMU. So Portland looking for a letdown spot there for Loyola Marymount. Michigan plus the 5. I do think Purdue catches their first loss of the season tonight, man. I do think Michigan covered the spread if not win the game outright. Like Michigan plus the 5, man. Who's another one? Oregon State plus the 7 at the house versus Utah. That was a revenge game. And then the other one I was talking about last night was Arizona minus the 6. That's also a revenge game as well. They're playing Washington State. In NBA, my guys, it's nothing official for me, man, but this is what I'm looking at heavily. In the Bulls Hornets game, I'd be looking at Bulls first quarter spread minus 1.5, Bulls full game minus a 6. I'd be looking at Bulls team total over as well, full game. And the Celtics game, I lean Celtics full game, Celtics team total over full game as well. In the Pistons Nets game, I can only look towards Pistons plus the 9 full game. I do not like the spot for the Nets as well. Saw my guy Jerry put in the chat, Nets 1-10 win margin plus 175. That's not a bad look as well. But give me Pistons plus a 9 in that one. Cavs Rockets game. I like the Cavs full game, guys. It was at 7 last night. Personally, I did sprinkle on it minus 7 last night. It's up to 8.5. I don't think Mitchell plays, so take that for what it's worth. But Cavs team total over full game 115. I think that's damn good money, man. Cavs getting 125 here in their sleep, in my opinion. No lean Mavs Suns. I don't care about that game. And Spurs Clippers. I'd lean Spurs plus the 13, and I'd lean Clippers team total over full game. I feel like if you like the tip Clippers, you just take their team total over. They might get to 130 points in this game, guys. That's the show, man. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. Hit the like button. If you really do like the show, hit the like button, man. Share the show as well. Go follow my guy Ronald on Twitter, man, at @U_Capper. You can follow me as well at JMoneyIsMoney. We will be back next Thursday as always. I'll be back tomorrow, man. Let's get some cash. We out, man. We will win, guys. Hit the like button.